Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. This is our first Handyman Success webinar. You've likely found us from the podcast or our Facebook group, and so in the same vein of our mission with the podcast that me and Alan do together, our purpose here is to teach and inspire. I think the webinars, this being our first one, it's certainly going to be heavier on the teaching side. But I think when you apply the teachings, like that could inspire you. Certainly, like getting action and getting things done, seeing improvements, that's inspirational in and of itself. So these webinars we're starting to do just to kind of continue forth in our mission of serving the handyman industry and teaching and inspiring. This one, our very first one is the whole topic is startup to full-time. So if you are a brand new business, you haven't started yet, you're in the planning phase, if you're part-time, or even if you're full-time, but you're just struggling to get traction, this is going to be a great like training for you, because we're just going to cover the absolute essentials, the foundational elements from marketing, sales, estimating. We'll go through the whole list here. So that's really who this is for. Also, anyone that just kind of wants a refresher of all the basics and make sure that you've got the essentials in place for you. Really what we've experienced, especially people that are solo owner operators, having the basics, having the foundation together and doing it well is really all you need to be full-time and profitable in your business. I know Alan will talk about that in the pricing. Profitable is a very important thing. It can be easy to get booked out, but not make any money. So we'll certainly address that in this training. So thanks again for everyone being here. I'm going to share my screen here. And we've got some slides to just kind of keep on course. And any questions come up, guys, feel free to just fire those off in the chat. And we're going to do our best to kind of address those as we go. And then depending on how much time we have at the end, we've got some time for a Q&A. So any specific questions that weren't unearthed in our training here, we'll get to that. So first off, introductions. Who is this guy? My name is Jason Call. I live in Brookings, Oregon. I used to actually be pretty close to Alan Lee in the Sacramento area. We met at church in a small adults group, and had quite a journey since then. So I'm the founder of Handyman Marketing Pros. We serve over 250 handyman businesses in the US and Canada since 2018. Co-host of the Handyman Success Podcast. I do help Alan as a kind of periodic coach within the Handyman Journey coaching program that he runs, and also a coach and mentor for marketing agency owners that are trying to build a better web agency and trying to get that all figured out. So I'll toss it over to Alan here.
Yeah, awesome. So my name is Alan Lee, if you guys don't know who I am. Basically, we have a kind of a life mission statement with our family, and we call that we are hope healers. We believe that we were put on this earth to bring hope to other people, specifically using our experiences and our failures to help bring hope to people. So my mission is to ultimately help others succeed. I am the founder and business coach at the Handyman Journey Business Consulting, where we help handymen grow their businesses and discover freedom. I'm the co-host of the Handyman Success Podcast with my man, Jason Call. I am a CEO now of Honestly Handyman Services. That's a brand new position for me. We just offered the position of general manager to one of our employees, and he accepted. So that is pretty exciting. And so that moves me up to kind of the CEO position, being in charge of marketing, finances, and company culture. And I am a husband to my wife, Laura, and I have two amazing kids. Harper is 5. She's in that picture there. And Henry is almost 2. He's actually taking a nap right now. So love my family. Love them so much. So Jason, I think I need to share my screen here. Bear with us, guys. We got to figure this out here. Okay, there we go. We could do that. Okay, so let's hop into this business startup overview. So this is kind of going to give you an overview of everything that you need to do and focus on in your business to get it started up and running efficiently. So the first thing I would recommend you do is do your research. You got to reach out to other handymen in your area, research local laws, There's a lot of other things you could do, but I think researching by reaching out to handymen in your area is huge. When I first started up, I called the handyman. There was about 5 or 6 in my area. Called them up. Only a few of them called me back. You're going to get that. But the ones that did call me back gave me very valuable research as far as what they charge for work, how many clients they have, what are some of the most common concerns clients have, things like that. So use those resources as you have them, and definitely collaborate with other people around. So I just recently went on like a tour of Southern California, and I met up with a whole bunch of handymen, and one of my stops was in Modesto, California, about an hour and a half south of here. And I met up with 4 handymen that were in that same area. And they're all in the Handyman Journey Mastermind group. They're all great friends, and they all refer work to each other, which is fantastic because there is plenty of work around. You don't need to be, you don't need to be fighting over it and competing over it. We can actually collaborate and help each other out, which is pretty awesome. And that's kind of what's really cool about this kind of community that we created. So the second thing, develop a plan. So you'll need to create a startup plan with your family. I think that is the most important, is when you're looking to start up this business, you need to really sit down with your family and figure out a plan that works for everyone in order to start this puppy up. So I started this in, it was September of 2016, doing part-time. And we decided I wanted to launch it full-time in January of 2017. So me and my wife sat down and we're like, okay, what's it going to take to do that? And the plan that we came up with was, okay, we need to work every day, every night and every weekend in the month of December so that we could get ready to go full-time in January. So I would work my full-time job, which was an automotive mechanic. I would change my uniforms, just like Superman, and then I would hop in my truck and head to my first handyman job. But that month was crazy because I didn't see my wife very much at all. I remember having a headlamp on my head, out there weed whacking stuff. Like I did everything. But it's those kind of plans that you need to put together, and you need to make sure that your whole family's on board. Very, very important. And then you need to, oh,
Sorry, man. There's a really good question that Victor has. It's related to reaching out to other handymen. Like how'd you approach them, and what kind of questions do you think are the most important to ask?
Yeah, Victor, that's a really great question. And to be honest, that was like 6 years ago. So I probably didn't do it the best way. I think I called him up, and that's probably why only a few of them called me back, because I just called him up and I said, hey, I'm a local handyman, like blah, blah, blah. I don't remember what I said. But if I had to do that today, I would still call him up and I would just say, hey, I'm a new handyman in town, or I'm thinking about starting up a handyman business, and I wanted to get some information about the handyman industry. Would you be willing to talk? Some people won't want to because they don't want the competition, right? But some people will, and those are the people that you want to talk to. I would ask them questions, as much as like, what seems to be the going rate around here for handyman jobs? Like, what do you charge per hour, if you don't mind sharing? How long did it take you to get on your feet? Like, how hard was it for you to get clients when you first started up? And maybe what are some of the avenues that you use to get clients? Now, again, this kind of digging into someone's business, so they may not want to share it. So you might have to call and ask around and kind of feel it out a little bit. But definitely get all kinds of questions like that. And even so much of like, what are some of your main jobs that you do? What's the highest paying jobs that you do? What kind of vehicle do you drive? How do you store your tools? Like don't approach them in a means of like, hey, I want to compete with you. Approach them in a means of like, hey, I want to learn from you. Like you're doing something cool here, and can you teach me a little bit, right? Maybe you could offer to take them out to lunch one day, but hey, can I buy you a coffee or whatever? Just kind of go about it casually. But that's probably how I would do it. Great
I
question
think
though.
one point I'd have is I think lunch is like a really casual, like easy way to connect with somebody, where it's going to come off less. I'm trying to learn about your business and take over your clientele, like just trying to learn.
Yeah. And if anyone watching here wants to come to Sacramento and take me out to lunch, that I'm game, you know? Yeah, so that's great. And then the next one is definitely develop a business plan. This is something that's huge. A lot of people don't spend enough time on it, but I've also seen some people spend too much time on it. You could get caught in that analysis of the paralysis. but you definitely need to develop a business plan. And not only a business plan for the beginning of your business, but a business plan uh, for every year of your business, right? So like you're going to create a business plan when you first start up, but when you're a year in, sit down and ask yourself, where do you want this business to be in a year and how are you going to get there? Same thing at the 2-year mark, do a check-in, create a business plan for the next year, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and so on. Because I think so often people are just kind of like running aimlessly through this world in the grand scheme of things, and especially their business. And they're just doing willy-nilly whatever they feel is right, but they don't really have like a set distinct plan of where they want to go and how they're going to get there. So creating a business plan is huge. The next one is surround yourself with like-minded, encouraging people. Now, most of you guys here come from the Handyman Journey Mastermind group on Facebook, but if you're not part of that, you need to join that group. It is absolutely massive. When I first started up this business, I started up the Handyman Journey Mastermind group as a way to surround myself with more like-minded people. Like everyone, right? I wanted to learn from other people what works for them, what doesn't work for them. So I created this community, and it's blown up massively. Like as of today, I think it's like 11,000 members. And there's just like massively encouraging stuff on there. Really great resources as far as how to price, how to market, who to talk to, do certain things. It's just, so you need to surround yourself with like-minded people, and you need to continue to plug into that. I love the quote by Jim Rohn, you become the average of the 5 people that you hang around. So maybe you need to hang around these people some more on Facebook. You need to reach out to some of the members that are in the Facebook group that might be in your area. I mean, 11,000 members. Chances are there's probably someone within an hour of you that you could go visit and, again, buy them lunch, right? Who doesn't like free lunch? So I would highly recommend you do that. Next thing that you need to do is get your pricing set, and we'll talk more about this. We're going to go more in depth into each one of these here in a little bit, but get your pricing set. A good thing to start on that is HomeWise. Kind of gives you a baseline of where to start. And again, we'll touch more. And then read the Handyman Pricing Handbook on Amazon. You can buy that on Amazon. I might be a little biased because I wrote it, but a few years ago we sat down and we put together a handbook of how to price handyman jobs, how to establish that, and how to really figure out what your pricing needs to be. And then the next thing is really where Jason comes into play, is get your marketing in place. By and large, the number one marketing agency out there for handyman is handymanmarketingpros.com. I can't stress it enough. People have tried to do their own websites. People have tried to go other places for their websites, but Handyman Marketing Pros blows it away every single time because they work specifically for the handyman industry. That's Jason Call's business, and me and him have been working together since day one. He's actually the one who helped me create my website, or he created my website when I first started this business. And that's really what I have to, give honor to. Most of my success in this business is that website and the SEO stuff that he's done for me. So definitely check them out. And then as far as establishing a marketing plan and things like that, we also have another handbook on Amazon, Handyman Marketing Handbook, as well. All right, you want to hop to the next one there? Let's see. So the next, so business startup tasks, right? So our last one was a business startup overview. These are actual tasks. So things that you need to do to get started. Number one, you definitely need to get a business license. You need to do some research, right? That's your first business startup overview. Do your research, figure out what licenses are required in your area to start up. In my area specifically, I needed a general business license and a special business license. So I have 2 business licenses here in the town that I work in. And again, these laws vary state to state, city to county to state, everything. So I cannot possibly give you all the answers as far as what your state requires, but it's definitely something very important to look into. And also look into the contractor laws, right? How much can you legally charge? How much can you legally do without a contractor's license? Very important. And then the next thing you want to do is get general liability insurance. This is very important, and I see a lot of people that operate without general liability insurance, and you're just putting a lot of people at risk. You're putting yourself, you're putting your client at risk. It's really not all that expensive, so it's something that you definitely need to look into. The company that I recommend for that that I've used, I have no affiliation with them other than I use them for my personal insurance, is Next Insurance. So next-insurance.com. I used to use a local broker for my general liability insurance, and then Next Insurance is just, it blows them out of the water as far as price. And I've talked to a few people that have actually submitted claims with them, and they said that the process was super easy as well. So I'm that's who I'm going to keep going with for now. The next thing you need to do is gather the necessary tools for the jobs, right? And what I would recommend is build bigger tools as you need them. So when you first start out, just have the necessities, right? And then as you need more tools, go ahead and buy them. Like, for instance, I remember my first job, I was laying some subfloor in this kitchen, and I was laying the screws with a 12-volt Milwaukee drill driver, basically, because that's what I had. My wife had got me that for Christmas like 2 years prior, so that's what I had. And it just sucked, man. The screws, like, just going so slow, and the battery died real quick. I remember I got paid $200 for that job that night. I didn't finish it that night, but she gave me $200. And so on my way home, I stopped at Home Depot and I bought myself an 18-volt Milwaukee impact driver. And the next day I was like, like I was just, hammering those drills, hammering those screws in, and it was awesome. So that's what I would recommend. And then maybe a week later, a job came up where I needed a miter saw. So I went and I bought a miter saw. And again, when I needed a miter saw, I bought a Harbor Freight miter saw, right? People might be joshing you on that, but that's what I could afford at the time. Now I don't have a Harbor Freight miter saw. I've moved up in the world a little bit, right? But it's also based on how often you're going to use that thing, right? Does it make sense to go out and buy a $500 DeWalt miter saw when you're only going to use it even once a month? Like, nah, not really. Maybe you could get away with like, a cordless Ryobi, if you're using it once a month, or who knows, right? So definitely watch that, but you want to acquire the necessary tools for the necessary job. Next thing is create business bank account. So I recommend segregating into 3 different bank accounts when you first start up. You got income, tax, and wealth account. I think that's wise to do right from the beginning, because you're going to have income, you're going to have to pay taxes, and then the wealth account is really where you store money so that you can buy bigger tools, or buy a new truck, or buy a new trailer, or what have you. So those are probably the best 3 most simplest business bank accounts to set up when you first get started. And then you'll need to think about, uniforms, business cards, truck magnets. Some of that stuff kind of goes into marketing, but how do you want to present yourself? What kind of professionalism do you want to put off there? And then the last one here is create tracking systems to track productivity and profitability. I think that's so huge because, we'll share this more as we go deeper into this, but when I first started, I'm going to charge $50 an hour, right? Because on my previous job, I was making X amount, and $50 is way higher than that. So that's awesome. But what I didn't know is I still was losing money. I felt like I was making a whole crap load of money and I was busy, but in all, I was losing money. And that's because I didn't set up tracking systems to track profitability and productivity. So I think that's huge. And then next is you'll need to look into estimating and invoicing, right? There's 2 different ways you can go.
One point I'd like to make too, even just looking back, is like if you're new and haven't done all this stuff, or even if you've been going, make sure you do all these things. Like, the only way to be successful is like, get your LLC, get your business bank account. Because whenever you go kind of like test the waters and kind of start going halfway, like the output is going to be halfway. And so something, even if you're part-time or have this as a side hustle, getting everything legit and following these things that Alan are putting out there is just very important. So anyway, I just kind of want to underscore, like, don't just cherry pick some of these. Like, when it comes to the official like business startup, like, it needs to be done correctly, especially in today's like online world, where now there's all kinds of verifications that you need if you want to be advertising in places. So anyway, I just want to make this quick note of like don't cherry pick. Follow these steps. This is what Alan, kind of went through when he was just doing this on the nights and weekends. It will pay off in the long run when you get everything set up right. Because you don't have to worry about it.
That's a good point, because when I first started, I did not do all of this stuff right, and looking back now, I wish I had done that because it created more chaos down the road. I'm like, oh, I'll do that later. But like if you put it off, it sucks, right? So definitely do it all at the very beginning, get it set up. Because if I could go back now and do it again, I would do it exactly as we're teaching it here. That's kind of how we created these slides. And I see the question from Joshua about saying that he should or shouldn't get an LLC. For me, LLC is something that was recommended to me by my CPA or accountant, and they recommended, once I hit like $60,000 or $70,000 a year, I should get an LLC for like protection purposes. But again, that's like a question for like really people above our pay grade. And one cool thing is we do is we have a private coaching group, and here in a few months, we're going to be actually bringing in my CPA to talk to that coaching group and really like educate us on some of those questions. So that'll definitely be one question that we'll be diving into about, should we do that? Should we not? But LLC is a huge question. I'm currently an LLC. I incorporated back in 2017, I think about when I started making that 60, 70 grand. And it's been good. So yeah, hopping into estimates and invoices. There's two different ways you could do. Obviously, you could go free, or you go paid. There's a few different free platforms. You could do like Wave Apps and Joist. And I actually, when I first started, I used Google Docs. I had like a Google Doc folder for each client, and it was ridiculous. Like things were everywhere. It wasn't automated. It didn't look good. And then you go the paid route. So, and those are things like Markate, Jobber, House Call Pro, Service Fusion. And these just, in my mind, really up your game, because there's a lot of things that you don't get from the free platforms that you do with the paid. And I think it's really just like an up level in, professionalism. Markate is really the one that most handymen use. It's because it's fairly inexpensive for what it is, and it really works great. It's a great professional platform. I actually just today signed up with Service Fusion. I'm switching my platform over to Service Fusion. It'll take a few months to get fully switched over. And the main reason for that is just because I need more reporting functionality than what Markate has to offer. Markate is a great great place to start. But you also want to actively continue look at what will make your business better and how things will kind of make your life easier. And then estimating invoicing platforms, CRMs, they give you the ability to keep a customer database for remarketing. So the thing that I didn't have when I had, or even Wave and Joist, right? They're estimating and invoice platforms, but a Markate and Service Fusion, they're CRMs, which is a customer relations management tool. And it's all about when you write an estimate for someone, you're actually keeping their data, or when they fill out a request form on your website, you're keeping their data so you can send them marketing via email, via text, via postcards, whatever down the road, to kind of, reinitiate that client, if that makes sense.
Sweet. Yeah, I'd add a few things, just a couple extra points on the CRM. Like when it comes to like professional, like in estimates and invoicing, like even though so Joist, Wave Apps, those are great free starters if you're on a super tight budget. But once you can swing $50 a month or so, highly recommend one of the paid ones, because when you look at the professionality and the appearance that you give off when you have a logo on your estimate, when you can take an online payment, the kind of brand and that professional experience you're going to create, plus the ease at which someone can pay you, it's going to pay for itself just so quickly. Because without these systems, like doing custom QuickBooks invoices, stuff like that, or waiting for a check, getting cash, you got to go to the bank, it's going to save you tons and tons of time. And this is one thing, if you get that dialed in on the front end when you're more like newer part-time, it's going to make growing a lot easier when you have this CRM in place. So next, guys, we're going to be talking about marketing, and then I believe we've got estimating, sales, kind of following up with that. And just to recap too, this is we're not going to go in the weeds as far as why and discuss the importance of each and every single one. This is really a really practical application of, hey, when you're like new, when you're part-time, these are the things you need to have in place as a foundation. So that being said, I'm not going to discuss all the nitty gritty of websites, Google Business, all these things, but I am going to give you a lot of things where if you don't have these in place, go and get it done. It'll be a huge service to your business now and as you grow. So first off, you don't have a logo. You need a logo. It's your recognizable icon. It's necessary for building your brand. It's kind of that visual identifier that people associate with your business. I got some examples here, just pulled a handful. So, don't overthink it, but, have something that's unique to your business that you can use on your website. You can use on your estimate, your invoicing, truck magnet, all these different things. Get a logo. You can find really affordable freelancers on a website called Fiverr.com. I'll put that in the chat. There is Canva.com is like it's a free kind of DIY graphic design software. I'll kind of touch on that in a future one where you can create a really basic, simple logo to start with. Because at the end of the day, if you want to update your logo, if your goal is to grow, have like 3, 4, 5 trucks on the road, you can work with a branding agency at that point, get everything replaced. But just getting started is the most important thing, but do not skip on getting a logo. First up here, and this is something if you've listened to me talk on the podcast or, all kinds of content, I talk about Google business profiles all the time because they're just, you have to do this. So it's absolutely critical. If you do nothing else in your marketing from this presentation, please, please, please get this set up. Go to business.google.com. If you go to handymanmarketingpros.com, our website, or look us up, or even Google, handyman, Google business setup or optimization, you'll see our articles. We've got help articles that kind of walk through the step-by-step. It's pretty straightforward. Go through the setup process. Let me type in the chat here where you get started with Google, business.google.com. Put this for everyone here. That's where you start to set that up with Google. Oh, that here. So I've got a little screenshot down here. This is like why it's so important. Like you will get visibility for people searching locally to you. You don't need anything else. Like you don't need a fancy dancy website. You don't need all the different fancy marketing stuff. You can literally set this up, get it verified with Google, which that is a process. You just follow their instructions, get it verified, and then boom, you are eligible to be ranking when someone's looking up handyman near me, handyman services in your town, home repair companies, stuff like that, that people are searching for. Like it's free to have. You just got to get it verified and then start building reviews. So, so this is kind of like it's like the dashboard for your business. When someone looks up your business, it's going to pull this profile up. People could see your reviews, phone numbers, website, services, service areas, contact. They can even send a message right from your Google profile that, go to your email. You'll get notified of that. So it's absolutely critical to your online marketing, your business as a whole. We'll talk about this in the common mistakes, but a common denominator of businesses that fail, like small businesses that fail, they don't have this profile or they are not building reviews from their clients on this profile. Reviews are a big ranking factor nowadays. So please, 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 if you do not have your Google business profile set up, optimized, we've got a video guide. It takes maybe 15, 30 minutes. We also do that as part of our service, the optimization side. So please get your Google business profile set up. Secondly, website. The website is it sits at the bottom of what we call your marketing funnel. So no matter if someone's finds you on Google, Facebook, business card, word of mouth, a lot of folks are either going to call your phone number or they're going to visit your website. So all your marketing, like most of it goes to your website. So having it set up correctly, it maximizes the value of your marketing. It maximizes the time and effort and sweat you put into your business because it acts as a sales tool. So when it's set up correctly, it's working for you all the time. When someone hits your website, they can request an estimate, find your phone number, see your services. It's just an absolutely pivotal piece to your marketing. If you're on a tight budget, I highly recommend a free Google site. You don't have to pay anything for it. You do have to set up that Google business profile that I recommended. Once you get that set up, you'll have a little dashboard area and there's a little button that says website. So you just follow the prompts. It takes maybe 30 minutes to set up. I do not recommend GoDaddy, Squarespace, DIY website builders, largely because of the time trade-off. You'll spend 20, 40, 60, 80, 100 plus hours in some cases trying to build a website that's just not going to be that great. When if you put that time into, if you took 30 minutes to create the Google site and then put that, say 50 hours you took spending building your website, put that 50 hours into sales related activities, networking, door hangers, reaching out to property managers, like you get the idea. It's a time trade-off. You put 50 hours into that, you would be so dang busy that you wouldn't even need the DIY website. So I'm a big advocate of, if you're on a budget, please get the free Google site. What we do is professional site design. So I've just got a few examples here for you guys to get an idea. Like here's Honestly's website, Alan's website, and then I've got over here all the kind of science that goes behind making this. So this is what we do as far as professional site design. Here's another example. Like it really sells your business. And again, free Google site is a great place to start that has the essentials. I couldn't get a screenshot of that for you guys, but it does enough where it's a great short-term solution before you're ready to invest in a professional site. So get a website together, whether it's free or professional. It's going to maximize all the effort you put into your marketing than if you just didn't have one, or if you had one that just wasn't very good at capturing someone's interest and information to actually get a lead in your sales pipeline. So next up, we got the Google profile, we got the website. Next, you want to be listed in high visibility online profiles. Here are the highest visibility ones. Google Business Profile, mentioned that about 100 times now. Facebook and Instagram. Instagram's more of a kind of a bonus thing. It works especially well for people who are doing larger home improvement, carpentry projects. It's very visual. A lot of folks are on Instagram, and you can post to both of them at the same time. I know Alan does this pretty well. Everyone's on Facebook, so being there, you can use community groups on Facebook. People can recommend you. You can start to build a following. This is how Alan originally gained a lot of traction in his handyman business, was working social media. Yelp. People talk trash on Yelp because yes, they do hide your reviews. It's maybe not the best kind of profile to have. They are improving, I hear, as far as being receptive to feedback, but nonetheless, people will find your business on Yelp. Also, Google, when it comes to ranking you, they expect to see a Yelp profile for any home service business. They expect to see it. So having it set up does help verify your business, and also does help with ranking very marginally, but nonetheless, it's important to have because people are searching on Yelp. So having a Yelp profile, it's important, and it also just kind of reaffirms your kind of authority and that you're professional because you've got the Google, you've got the Yelp, you've got some online reviews. Lastly here, Nextdoor. Nextdoor is it's available in most markets. It's like slowly rolled out to different markets. You should have a Nextdoor in your area. Some people, it works really great. Others, they don't have a very active neighborhood. Nonetheless, it's a great profile to set up and start to build like referrals through that platform. The last thing I'll say on this slide, I failed to make a slide for this, but the best way to generate actual leads and business from Facebook is by joining local community groups. So say you live in Dallas, Texas. There's going to be a couple dozen different Dallas, Texas community groups where people post about, garage sales, lost dogs, community events. Most of them allow free business posting once per week. It's free, and do it every single week consistently. It takes maybe 5 minutes. You can create a post, share it across a bunch of groups. Really effective way to consistently get your name in front of folks, develop clientele within these groups. Then they'll start referring you because people do ask like, hey, I'm looking for a handyman. In which case you can comment, your clients can comment and recommend you. So Facebook, really important. Google reviews. Like I said, common denominator when a business fails, they don't have a Google profile, or they're not getting a consistent flow of 5-star reviews, or they just have no reviews. Google reviews are the most viewed reviews on the web, and they're the only place that when you get one, it increases your ranking. That screenshot I shared here at the bottom. So this is just a search, handyman services in Roseville, California, and you can see Honestly ranking at the top there. Reviews are a factor, a big factor. So build Google reviews for not only building trust and confidence with potential clients, it increases your rankings and just builds your reputation as the local kind of favorite handyman, if you will. Okay, print advertising. Can't sleep on print advertising. Get your business cards, get your flyers, kind of some optionals here, door hangers. I know Alan is big on yard signs or bandit signs. Direct mail is a pretty dang cheap marketing tactic. Talk with your local print shop. You just got to pay for the actual printing of the flyers. And usually like the mailers themselves as a service is relatively inexpensive. It's a great way to kind of hit a targeted group of neighborhoods. I wouldn't recommend doing that till you've got your Google profile for reviews, because people will visit your website, they will Google you, and you need to have your reviews. So it, or else, you know, you're not going to get the phone call. So that's where it leads into having these essentials in place, having reviews. It maximizes the effort you're putting into it. So when you have a Google profile, you got a website, you got good reviews, when you send that direct mail piece, you're going to have a higher likelihood of getting the phone call. Vehicle magnet, that's an easy one. Don't look at all the wraps and think you need to save $5,000 for a wrap. Just get a really simple vehicle magnet. Like, start very simple. It doesn't have to be rocket science. Resource down here, like I already mentioned, canva.com. It's a easy, free DIY graphic design. It's put a lot of graphic designers out of business. Unfortunately for them, I have a friend that's a graphic designer who really suffered from that. But it's a great tool for the average small business owner that they don't want to pay a graphic artist. They just want a really simple flyer. They've got templates. You plug in your name, your colors, your logo, and boom, you got yourself a flyer. Networking and referral, building a referral network. This one's huge. One second. First off, tell your friends and your family. Some people don't do that. It's the easiest way to start getting your initial jobs. Let your friends, let your family know. Some people let their neighbors know. You know, that's kind of an iffy thing depending on your neighbors. Some people let their church congregation know. Again, I've heard that's an iffy thing. So definitely let your friends and your family know. One of my favorite quotes is, you charge your family double and your church congregation members triple. So it's just a joke, you know, as far as, you know, working with people that know you personally. But let your friends and family know. Join your Chamber of Commerce. This is a local business community hub that want to see you win. They want to see you successful. The Chamber of Commerce is kind of the local lifeblood of small businesses. They have free, they have a membership. It's typically about 30 to 50 bucks a month, but it gains you access to their network, their events. And usually there's at least like 1, 2, 3, 4 events per month, depending on how active the Chamber of Commerce is. It is a great way to connect with local business, other local business owners and community leaders. So think like your council members, your mayor, all these things where everyone going to these events, they are very likely ideal clients themselves. They very likely have deep roots in the area where their friends, family, neighbors are ideal clients. So join your chamber, get active there. Realtor associations, similar, you can join as an affiliate member to network and get your name in front of realtors. Builders associations, connecting with bigger contractors. BNI, similar networking groups, literal just groups that meet every week or month to promote each other's businesses. Last one here, local business partnerships. I've got a old neighbor of mine, and he's a cabinet maker, and a lot of his business came from the local lumber yard. When someone was buying lumber and they were looking for someone to help with their cabinets, oh, hey, my guy Derek was Sierra Custom Cabinets. Like, he just was kind of the referred within, you know, the local lumber yard, has his business cards there. So lots of opportunity there. Cold outreach. This is just reaching out to folks that could have a, you know, win-win partnership. A lot of these people I have listed here, they want a reliable referral, or they need a reliable handyman themselves. So realtors, property managers, other handyman and home service businesses that don't do what you do, and they do what you don't do. So there's a two-way street there. Contractors that need reliable referrals for small jobs, HOAs, senior living communities, high-end condominiums, neighborhoods. A lot of them have an organization that kind of, you know, does landscaping and stuff. See what kind, a lot of them have newsletters. So see what kind of opportunities are available to get your name out there and kind of be their trusted handyman. Last thing here, I believe I have this amazing customer experience. This is marketing. It is business. It's everything all in one. you need to provide an amazing customer experience. And this will kind of be throughout. I know what Alan's going to be talking about too, but at the end of the day, you need to provide a great experience, or else you're not going to get the callback, you're not going to get the referral, you're not going to get the 5-star review. So here I just have some high level examples of look the part, invest in a logoed polo, shirts, hats. I mean, Alan there, he's got the polo, he's got the hats. When he shows up for the estimate, or he used to show up for the estimate, it's like, wow, this is a very professional business. A lot of companies that wear booties in the house just out of respect for the cleanliness of their space. One of my favorite things that I picked up off Stephen Caps, shout out to Stephen, he's in the Facebook group that Alan's talked about. His technician asked, is it okay if I park there? What a great touch. No one asked that, but it's very respectful. Leave the area cleaner than when you got there. Leave something to stay top of mind, like a fridge magnet or a maintenance checklist. Alan's done well with the maintenance checklist. Follow up, ask for referrals, ask for reviews, have professional estimates and invoicing, professional online presence. It all it all feeds together so that you can charge a premium rate for your service. And that's the only way to profitably grow, is when you're above market average. If you're not above market average, you're just not going to make as much as you could. Or if you put these investments in your business to have that premium service, you're going to attract the clients that want to pay you a premium amount for your quality service. That's what I've got on marketing.
Love it. And so to add a little bit to the amazing customer experience, right? The thing that I always think about is look at what 98% of people are doing and do the exact opposite. So that's one thing you're going to learn when you call the handyman around your area to find out what they're charging, what they're, how they're doing the work, blah, blah, blah. Find out what some of the concerns are of the clients that handymen aren't fulfilling, and do that, right? So if you find out that, for instance, 98% of the handyman in your area don't have uniforms, well, simply get some uniforms and you're going to blow it out of the park, right? People are going to be like, wow, who's this guy that just rolled into town looking all spiffy, right? I think that's like the equation to win at life. Look at what 98% of the people are doing and do the exact opposite. Okay, love it. All right.
Hey, Alan, I'm gonna let you share your screen so you can take over your slide progressions and stuff.
All righty, sounds good. Oh, let's see. I gotta make sure I get that going. Uh-oh. Hold on one second, guys.
Landlord associations. Okay, I hadn't heard of that one. That's good. I'm just looking at the chat here.
All righty. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties here. We're going to do it. All right. So let's hop into pricing. Okay. Pricing is very important. Probably if you guys have been around, especially in the Handyman Journey Mastermind group, you know that pricing is a huge topic. Can you see my screen, by the way?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Pricing is a huge topic, but it's very, very important for proper cash flow. Like I said, when I first started up in this business, I was charging $50 an hour, thought that was great. Came to quickly find out that I was actually losing money, and I always had cash flow issues. And the funny thing is, even after I did what I'm going to tell you in these slides and figured out what my pricing needs to be, I still had that mindset of like, oh, that's a little bit too high. I should actually lower my price so that I could get more jobs. I still had cash flow issues. So it's not just knowing the numbers and knowing the equation, it's having the mindset around pricing. And at the end of the day, it really revolves around, hey, you can discount work for people, right? But if you continue to do that, you are not going to be in business, so you won't be able to offer any discounts at all. So it's important to charge what you need to charge so that you're making the money that you need to make so that you can feed your family. If someone wants a discount, you're literally taking a food out of your son's mouth, and you need to ask yourself, is it worth that, right? So pricing is very important. Most people get this wrong because they just move too fast, and they're like, I'm just going to throw some numbers out there and I'm going to do it. They mistake being busy with making money, right? You can be super busy. You can be working every day, but you're actually not making any money at all. So it's very important to actually look at that. And we're going to kind of give you a brief overview, but I'm also going to dive a little bit into it, give you guys the equation. So we're going to be kind of moving fast, take screenshots. And again, if you got any questions at all, drop them in the chat. Jason will hit me up if you got any good ones. And we will be doing webinars more in-depthly on pricing as the months go on. We're going to be doing a webinar about every month. This is a really overview webinar, but we're going to be digging into it more. So do your numbers over and over and over and over again. A lot of people do their numbers once, the equation I'm about to show you, and then they think they never need to do it again. I would recommend doing it every month. Look back at the previous month. How efficient were you? Really, it comes down to efficiency. How efficient were you with your jobs, and do you need to adjust your pricing to compensate for that? Recommend to go over the numbers once a month. The book recommendation that I talked about earlier is the Handyman Pricing Handbook, and that is on Amazon. You can check that out. So pricing equation is as follows, okay? This can get a little confusing, so maybe screenshot it, and we can talk more about it later.
We can send the slides out, Alan, by the way.
That's
We'll
a good
send a
idea.
follow-up email with the replay, and we can get the slide link so they can grab this.
Smart man, smart man. Okay. So you need to take your business expenses. So you need to sit down. What I would recommend is print out the last 3 months of your bank statements. So this could be your homework for tonight. Print out the last 3 months of your bank statements from your business and your personal, and figure out what the heck your expenses were. This will tell you how much it costs to run your business. How much does it cost per month to run your business? I bet if I asked, 98% of the people here, they probably wouldn't know that, right? Well, the thing is, we need to know that. We need to know that number. So figure out how much it costs to run your business. What are your business expenses? And then you need to add 20% onto that, okay? And that's going to get you what I call your break-even number. So you take your business expenses, you multiply it by 1.2, and you get your break-even number. And then you take that break-even number and you add another 20% to it. So you take that break-even number, you multiply it by 1.2 again. That gives you what I call the profit benchmark. All this stuff goes really in depth in that Handyman Pricing Handbook. Then you take your profit benchmark, okay, and you divide it by the number of billable hours in a month, okay? And that can get a little confusing. And what we want to do is we want to focus on the efficiency when we're trying to figure out how many billable hours there are in a month. Most handymen, people, are not 100% efficient, okay? We're usually somewhere around 75 to 80% efficient. So that efficiency rule means if there's 20 working days in a month, right, then we multiply that by 8 hours, right? Because there's 8 hours of in a day, right? 8 working hours if you're working that schedule, which I would highly recommend you set business hours for yourself. 8 a.m. to 4:30, right? With a 30-minute lunch, that's 8 hours. So 20 working days, 8 hours a day, that gives you 160 hours in that month, right? Judging that there's no holidays or anything like that. Okay. Multiply that by 0.8. That's going to give you 80% of that 160 hours. So that actually gives you 128 billable hours in that month. So that means in that month where there's 20 working days, you actually have 128 billable hours. So those are hours that you're expected to perform. You're expected to perform 128 hours in that month. Okay. So you would take the profit benchmark and divide it by 128 in this scenario. So let's move down to an example that's down at the lower left-hand corner of this screen. Say your business expenses come out to $5,000. We want to add 20% to that. That gives you $6,000. Then you take that break-even number, which is $6,000, and add another 20%. That gives you $7,200. Then you take that profit benchmark of $7,200 and divide it by our billable hours, which is 128 hours. You get $56.25 per hour. That's how much money you need to be charging per hour in your business to actually make a profit. You're going to be making a 20% profit off of that. Now, I know.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Or a baked-in question, because I'm sure people are thinking it. Your expenses. Is your pay in the expenses?
Yes. Yes. So your pay is definitely in the expenses. So if you pay yourself $5,000 a month, then that's in your business expenses as well. Yeah.
And that's going to be your largest expense when you're by yourself.
Yeah. Payroll is your largest expense for sure. Yeah. And yeah, so that's basically, so you need to charge $56.25 per hour to actually make a profit in your business, right? So if you charged $40 an hour, this is the quiz. What happens if you charge $40 an hour? Yeah, you lose money, right? What happens if you charge $55 an hour? You lose money, because businesses are meant to be profitable, right? That's actually what you need to base it on. A lot of people say, oh, I made, you know, $5,000 gross revenue. Whoop-de-doo, right? Gross revenue is great, but what really matters is the net profit. How much is your business actually profiting at the end of the day? Because that's going to tell you if your business can sustain itself and continue to grow. All right. And if you guys got any questions on that, feel free to drop them in the comments. Jason, did you have any questions on that you think other people might have, or
I think the big one was that ran through my head is, making sure you're counting like your payroll, your pay within your expenses. And then one other question I think would be, what are good starting ranges of like hourly rate, and what does Honest Lee Handyman Services charge as an hourly rate?
That's a good question. So currently we charge $198 an hour. Now, a lot of people will be like, holy crap, right? That's a lot. But that also gets into like the sales category, which we talk about more later. But we don't go around telling people we charge 198 bucks an hour, right? We don't charge by the hour, but we know what our hourly rate needs to be. We charge by the job. And I would recommend that you charge by the job, not by the hour, because once you tell people that you charge by the hour, they are going to be nickeling and diming you for every second. I remember one time we did a little experiment where we transitioned to charging by the hour, and we were at a client's house and we told her, oh, 2-hour minimum, right? And we went out and we did this stuff, and we were all wrapped up, and she looked at her clock and she's like, oh, according to what I see, you got 5 minutes left. So she's like, you see that, that really tall light fixture up there? There's some dust on the light bulbs. Can you dust them off? So it's like she kept us there till the second, right? And then she actually kept us there a little bit later, because once you're done with that, now you need to, submit the invoice and collect the payment. And so you're actually there for a lot longer. So it's kind of interesting when you strap an hour to it. Yeah, that's good.
Man. And yeah, you touched on charging by the project. I'm not sure if you already had that coming up. And one thing I would say too is one step at a time, because Alan has worked, put a lot into his business to get to that 198, his back end hourly rate. But you started, I think, at 50 bucks an hour, right?
Yeah. And the reason why my hourly rate is 198 bucks an hour is because our business expenses are crazy. We have 6 employees, we have a total of 5 vehicles. We have an office, we have a shop, right? There's a lot of expenses that go into running a bigger business. So for the smaller guys, don't be intimidated by that. Don't be like, oh, I'm not charging 198, so I must suck. No, that's not it. I'm just at a completely different place than you, and that's fine. We're all at different places. We can all learn from each other. But definitely do your pricing equation to figure out what your hourly rate needs to be.
And one thing I would say too, because I know people are like, well, how much should I charge? What's a good place to charge? You have to do the exercise that Alan's pointed out here. The pricing handbook on Amazon, it's like 15 bucks or something. Like it's a really helpful book. And then also, like I will say from my experience in, all the owner operators that we work with in new businesses, they're typically somewhere between like $75 and $100 an hour. Anything below 75 in today's market seems pretty low.
Yeah.
So those are the numbers that I'm seeing.
Yep, I would agree.
One message we got, or actually, it's from Dad. I hope this isn't my dad. I don't think it is.
What's up, Daddy?
And it's a direct message to me. I'm not sure if you have that. If you click in the chat, you can put it to everyone. But he asked, Dad is asking, how do you gauge rate increases once you start? Do you just experiment? So how do you know when to raise, and like what's your process there?
Yeah, so that's really good that you touched on that. This is kind of getting more into the weeds a little bit of the pricing, which we'll cover more on the pricing in depth stuff. But by and large, I recommend to do this equation every single month, because the fact is you may be less than 80% efficient. Then that's just what we're assuming. We're assuming you're gonna be 75 to 80% efficient. But let's see, what did Dad said? His name is Robert. No, Robert.
Hey, Robert.
Your name is Daddy. What's up, Daddy? Sorry. Okay. So you're not always going to be 80% efficient. So say the month of June is done, right? And you look back at the month of June and you expected to hit 128 billable hours, but you only hit 110 billable hours. That's how many you actually got done. Well, when you're going into July to figure out that, instead of putting 128 billable hours in here, you're going to put 110. And that's going to raise your hourly rate a little bit to compensate for your lack of efficiency. Now, the lack of efficiency doesn't mean that you're like a dummy. It just means that there's maybe things that happen on the jobs that you don't account for. Like, how often does we look at something, we're like, oh, that's going to be a piece of cake. Like, I'll knock that out in 2 hours. And it ends up taking us 3 hours just because of stuff happens, right? You pull a board off, you find a bunch of dry rot, whatever, whatever happens. So that's how you need to constantly be pivoting every single month. And because you're not telling the clients your hourly rate, you can quickly and easily adjust your charges. So for this month, that's kind of getting into more in-depth pricing, but this month we charged whatever you could say, we charged $100 to install a kitchen faucet, right? We charged an hour or whatever. So next month, since we're going to raise our prices a little bit, we're now going to charge $105 to install a kitchen faucet. And it's all going to work out all right, right? Inflation has gone up. It's not that big a deal. People don't trip that much over that little bit amount of money. So I hope that answered your question, Daddy or Robert. Yeah, that's just great. The great question, though. All right. So next, let's hop into sales. Sales is huge. Sales, you need to focus on quality. So we're not focusing on just how much money can I get out of this client, right? We're focusing on the lifetime value of the client. That's really what I want you to focus on. The key here is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So the art of sales is really a people's game. And it's how can I basically have a touch point in this person's life so that they understand that I'm not just in it for the money, that I'm in it for the care. So one thing that I always recommend is the way that we teach our employees is to treat clients like they're your grandmother, right? How would you want your grandmother to be treated, right? And then someone commented on a video the other day. They're like, no, I don't want to treat them like my grandmother because my grandmother always expected me to do stuff for free. Well, it's like not don't go that far into it, but like care for your grandma, right? She's your grandma, right? She is the matriarch of your family. Like, care for her, love her, right? Take care of her. That's how we want, kind of the experience with the clients to be. That's really, once you establish that, you're going to create a great sales platform. Number 2, be confident in your services. And the reason why we put sales after pricing is because once you know what your pricing needs to be, you can stand firm on your prices because you're like, I know I need to charge $56 an hour. I can't do it any less because I'm taking food out of my family's mouth. And at the end of the day, you will lose clients by doing this. You will lose clients because there are clients out there that want to pay you $40 an hour or $20 an hour, and you need to make $56 an hour. That's fine. If they want to pay that, they can go somewhere else and they'll find someone to do that. But you cannot lower your standard of living to match their expectations, right? You need to find people that's expectations matches your standard of living. I know I'm running kind of over time here, but there's a good gold strip story that I wanted to insert here, and it's actually coming out in a video. I learned it from Evan Plata in Modesto when I was on my handyman tour there. So he shared this story. There was this YouTube video or some sort of reel, I don't know, he couldn't remember, but this guy had gold strips and they were worth about $100, and he was out like in town square or something, and he was passing out these gold strips to complete strangers. And most people that he handed it to, they're like, I don't want it, like I don't want anything you have, right? And when that happened, he was like, well, first we'll say the people that did take it, right? He gave it to some people and he was happy for them because they took it, and they're like, he's like, wow, you don't even know it, but you're $100 richer right now. And then, adversely, people didn't take it. He was still happy for the people that didn't take it because he got to keep his $100. So he knew the value of what he had. The client did not establish that value. He established that value, right? So when you are who you are and you know your prices, and you know your quality of service, you establish your value. Even though a client doesn't want to work for you because you're charging too much money, like that does not decrease your value. In fact, you should be happy for that person because they're going to go somewhere else and they're going to find the value that they're looking for. And maybe they'll come back to you when they're actually looking for the value that you have. It doesn't diminish your value.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'd say, in most markets, maybe 10 to 20% of the population at most is going to be your ideal client that's going to pay a quality rate for a quality service. So don't be discouraged. You're kind of, keeping your gold strip if they say no.
Yep. No harm, no foul. Sales, create a system so customers know exactly what's next. They have to know your process. So, we have a coaching group I've alluded to before. It's called the Handyman Academy, where we meet on Zoom twice a month, and we go in depth with handymen from all around the world, talking about different business principles and things like that. So one thing we're actually be talking about here in 2 weeks on our next group coaching call is sales, and we're going to be going over the system that we have created so that our customers know exactly what's next. We actually have a script where we walk our clients through every single step of the script. And it's basically like just kind of walking a dog through our sales process. And it's set up in a way where at the very outright, there are certain filters that when they get said, or when they find out about these things, or if the availability doesn't match up, like the client has an opportunity to bow out at that point, and we don't have to continue down that sales process. So by doing that and having a process, for one, you're not walking people all the way into your business that aren't your ideal clients in the first place. You're getting those people out of the way to begin with, and you're also creating a more likable atmosphere because people feel comfortable when they know what's next, when you're actually leading them down that. And one huge thing that a lot of people get caught up in is what I call tap dancing for customers, right? They go out to a house. Tom Reber has a YouTube video that I think he did a few years back, where like he talked about this, and you go out to a client's house, and it's like you're tap dancing for the client, getting like, hey, look at my moves, like, and I'm so fancy, and I got sparkly gloves. Like, don't you want to hire me? Right? Like, that's where a lot of people are. They're like, I got to put on my A game for these people so that they hire me, right? And I don't care if I have to do it for $20 an hour and I need to be making $56 an hour. I don't care, because I need the work. I need to go do something. Like, this is like the mentality that people get caught in, and they think that they have to tap dance for these clients so that they can continue getting this work. But you don't want to get caught up in that. So by establishing a system and knowing what your system is, you can actually walk the client through it, and you can follow along as well, so that you don't get caught into that tap dancing cycle. And for this, I have another book recommendation, a book that we wrote, I think it was last year, Handyman Sales Handbook on Amazon. And it really just details the whole process and just how to basically get your mind around a good sales atmosphere. All right. Did we have another question here, Jason?
Yeah, we had one. It's not necessarily related to sales, but I think we can just hammer it out. It's from Tony. He says, "What do you do, or how do you reply to a bad review for a customer you have never worked for? She didn't like that we charged for an estimate for a bathroom remodel."
You want to take that one first?
I love your story, honestly. The Yelp review that you replied to, and it's gotten you a ton of business.
Yeah, so we had a client that we'd never worked for, and he left us a really bad Yelp review. So, and what happened in his Yelp review, he basically said this company is a crock, like, don't use them, they're horrible people. And then he went on to explain the scenario of what happened. And it's also interesting, right? So when you get a bad review, it's not someone just poo-pooing on you, although there is a little bit of that. But then there's also a little bit of truth in everything anyone says, even if it's sarcasm. There's always a little bit of truth. So even in a bad review, you can find some truth. And there's always a way that you can improve your services. This is what we refer to at the Handyman Academy as living in the champion mentality, right? We have two choices every day, to choose the victim mentality or the champion mentality. And a champion mentality really looks at a bad review and it's like, okay, this sucks. How can I improve? Like, what could I do differently next time to kind of avoid something like this? So this guy left us a review detailing what happened. And what had happened, he submitted a Yelp request, and I said, oh, hey, we'd love to work with you. Also, backstory, this is when I was a one-man show, and I was trying to create processes to try and make it so I could get back to people quicker. So every Yelp request, I would just send them a canned response and say, go to my website, submit a work request there. That way everything ends up in my email. And that way I'm not trying to chase, chase leads everywhere. It's all in the email. Well, anyways, I did that to this guy. I said, hey, go to my website, leave me an email. He went to my website, left me an email, found out he was in Folsom, which is a few towns over, a town that we did not service at the time. So I replied to his email. I said, hey, sorry, bud. Unfortunately, we don't work in Folsom at this time. I apologize, blah, blah, blah. Well, that prompted him to leave a review, because in the review, he said, these guys are crooks. I left him a Yelp message. He told me to go to his website, and then he told me he didn't work in Folsom. Like, he wasted my time. He should have just done this, told me that he wouldn't work for me in the first place. And then he went on to blame that I didn't want to work with him because he was a disabled veteran, which that's not true. So there was a lot of false accusations. But anyways, I responded to that, and I said, I'm completely sorry. And I explained exactly what happened. Like, I'm trying to implement some new systems so I could get back to people quicker. And I would love to chat with you in person and kind of, figure out how we can make this better in the long run. And we've gotten more reviews off, or more clients from that bad review than any other good review. So, because people have called me up and they're like, hey, I'm like, how'd you find me? Because I always ask people how they found us. And a lot of people have said, hey, I found you because there's this really bad review on Yelp, but you replied in such a kind manner, and it really showed your professionalism, that I thought I should give you a call. And I've gotten so many people that called me from that. So what I would say for a bad review is take the champion mentality, think about things that you could do differently next time, and just be honest about where you were, right? Like, I'm sorry that it ended up this way. And it might just be, I'm sorry you feel this way. That's our company policy. We would love to work with you or talk about it further if you would like. It doesn't have to be something super in depth, but just be kind and choose the champion mentality.
Good stuff, man.
All
Yeah,
right.
and I think in stuff like that, you can look at your communication. Did you set the expectation about the estimate charge, all this stuff? In a lot of cases, you did. If there's a gap there where you can improve it to prevent it, then find that gap. But in the reply, just state the facts, and that there's obviously miscommunication, and just take the high road. And also, if they didn't do work for you, you can actually report the review. If you click on it, there's 3 little gray dots next to it, and you can report it. And there's one that says like not relevant or something, where basically it's like, hey, this person, we never did work for them. So you could try that route too, to get it removed, but take a really professional reply at first using what Alan broke out.
Yeah, sorry, that was a long explanation.
Good question though, Tony.
Let's see here. Did we cover this? We covered this one. Yeah, we did. Okay. So now we can get into some of the most common business mistakes. These are probably some of the most common things that I see. I've been doing this handyman business for 7 years, been coaching people for 6 years. And so these are some of the most common business mistakes. And then Jason will handle some of the most common marketing mistakes here in a second. So number one, simply not charging enough for your services. And it's because people are just blindly going through their business, right? They're not thinking about this stuff, and they mistake being busy with actually making money and being profitable. And you need to ask yourself, are you busy or are you profitable right now? Number two, not having clear communication with clients. And again, that kind of something that we touched on there. Oftentimes when we get bad reviews, it's because there was a lack of communication somewhere. In some category, it's either between you or the client. And I think as a champion mentality, you need to kind of just own up to your mistakes and try and get better each and every time. Number three, working with the wrong clients. Man, so I got this saying, like, don't negotiate with people, because at the end of the day, you lose anyways. You will always lose. When someone calls up and the first thing they ask is how much this is going to cost, or can you do this work for $20, or this is so easy the Boy Scouts could do it. Like, you need to run away from those jobs, because these people have very low expectations, or very high expectations, but very low willingness to follow through with those expectations. So most of the time, those things are going to go south really quickly. And those are things that you'll learn as you go. You're going to kind of develop some sort of radar for these bad clients. You're going to understand how they talk, what are some of their first questions they ask, things like that. Number four, not keeping accurate books. This is something that I really struggled with, and I didn't get set up till maybe 4 years in or so, and I had a lot of catching up to do. I remember my first year, my CPA sat down with me. She said, well, how much money did you make last year? And I said, I don't know. She said, well, how much money did you spend last year? I'm like, I don't know. I didn't know any of this stuff, right? And it turned out I had a crazy tax bill and no money to pay the tax bill because I wasn't charging enough. So you need to make sure you have accurate books. And then number 5, hiring or partnering with the wrong people. This is, for me, one of the biggest things that got in the way of this was codependency. I was very codependent, very passive, and I worked with and partnered with a lot of the wrong people in life. And unfortunately, I didn't really learn that until maybe it was a little bit too late, but that's kind of how life goes sometimes. So you need to choose your partners, choose the people you hire with, look at that very closely. So they say you need to be slow to hire, quick to fire, right? Especially when you start, hiring employees, you need to be on top of that and you need to be managing it very closely. All right. Marketing.
Awesome. Yeah. So first one is stopping marketing when you're busy. Don't ever stop marketing because there is a natural ebb and flow to business. Some weeks are better than others. You want to be trending upwards. You want to be looking at 3, 6 months, 12 months, and make sure you're on the up if that's your goal. But don't stop marketing just because you're busy, because that will come back to bite you in the following months. So don't stop marketing just because you're busy. Keep with the consistency of whatever your strategy is doing. Second, not getting a verified Google business profile. Already touched on this. Third, no consistency in building Google reviews, or getting no reviews. That is the biggest reason I see people go out of business. They just give up because they don't have a Google profile, they don't have Google reviews, so they can't get traction. They're just relying on word of mouth and referrals that are just so ebb and flow. It's just it's a roller coaster. Getting a Google profile, getting reviews helps a lot to raise that minimum floor of your lead flow and bring in some consistency to your sales. Lastly, and this isn't even marketing, but a lack of building systems and processes, which really is just creating efficiency. So Alan mentioned his example of replying to all leads, Facebook, Yelp, wherever they come from. Hey, please submit an estimate request for form on my website. He was trying to create efficiencies so that he could do his job in less time and therefore make a higher profit. So that is one example of a system, a process. But whatever you do in your business, especially if your goal is to hire a technician and manage the business, like Alan has a general manager now. He does the marketing and finances and the culture. To do that, everything your business does, it needs to have a system. It needs to have a process so it's repeatable, so someone can be trained and they know how to do it. A great one that is really systematizable is your think of someone answering the phone. So your customer service, and how they answer the phone, how they decide or how they ask, where they are, what job they want. So you can instantly weed out, oh, we don't service that area. Oh, we don't do kitchen remodels. So, everything in your business, once you kind of get up and going, you'll be able to identify these things that are repeatable. So, create a process, create a system where you can copy and paste and do things really efficiently that you do over and over and over again. It's going to save you time and therefore make you more profitable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's our training, guys. So how to reach us, we've got the slide here, handymanjourney.com. Alan has a great coaching group. I'm obviously biased because I'm a member of that and get to be a part of the amazing culture and group there. It's just like it's a team effort. Everyone's in it together to lift each other up, to learn and grow together within their handyman business. Really a collective of like minds. So handymanjourney.com, you can schedule a call with Alan to talk with him. Myself, handymanmarketingpros.com. You can schedule a call with me. You can see our pricing, everything that we do. I'm more than happy to have a conversation with you, and I'm sure Alan feels the same way. Even if you're new and you're like, I got no money, but I need to get this thing going. We will have a conversation with you. We are here to help, and we can get you on the right path. And just definitely follow everything we talked about here, guys. So that's us, and we've got maybe like 10 minutes here for any Q&A, any questions that we can, help you guys with. So just fire them off in the chat and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, I think one question that I wanted to tackle was Joshua says, how do you gauge how long a job will take so you are charging correctly? Say you're keeping true to the $56 hourly rate and you tell the client it'll be 4 hours, but the job ends up taking 3. And that kind of goes back to the point that for me, pricing is kind of fluid. Pricing is something that you need to constantly be looking at, and eventually you'll be getting pretty spot on. But you also don't want to charge, you don't want to lower your rate because you become more efficient. So for instance, we do pre-hung doors, right? We sell the pre-hung doors for 4 hours. Well, our technician has gotten very efficient where he can do them in about 2 hours now, but we still charge 4 hours because it's the process, it's the knowledge, right? So if you were to lower your rate because you're more efficient and you can do it quicker, and say you only charge 2 hours for a pre-hung door, right? Well, a new guy who's brand new, it might take him 6 hours. He's going to charge 6 hours for that job, right? So it's like you need to find a happy median there, and you don't want to lower your value just because you've gained an experience. In fact, because you've gained an experience and do it correctly and more efficient, you should actually get paid more than someone who doesn't know what they're doing and isn't as efficient. So I think it's always great if you could do a job quicker than what you sell it for. It's the jobs that take longer than what you sell it for that you need to look at and kind of refigure that pricing next month, if it makes sense.
Sweet. Yeah, and we'll wait to see if any other questions come in. But one thing that just I'm super passionate about, and I know I've talked to this with the Handyman Journey group guys, but whether you're just starting out or part-time or just failing to get traction, one huge thing to look at is like your personal habits and what time you're waking up, what time you're going to bed, like how well you're taking care of yourself. That is just a really critical thing. So, if that kind of like raises some red flags with you and you're like, oh, geez, I don't wake up early enough. For me personally, when I call it the new business hustle, which for me, it's the point of when you start a business to the point of you've made up your previous income. So you're making an income of what you would have made otherwise at a corporate or whatever job that you were working. So new business hustle. So in that, like for me, it was waking up at 5 a.m. It really sucked for a while, but it was a necessary piece to me getting off the ground. And so going to bed early, waking up, giving myself 2 hours where no one else was awake and I could get prepped for the day. So that's one. And then secondly, a really helpful personal hack is every week create a top 3. These are 3 things that you don't have to do. Your business would keep going the way it is, but these are things that you don't have to do, but will help your business. So we've covered a ton of these things in this presentation. So your top 3. So every week, create a top 3 of like, no matter what, how busy I get, these are 3 things I've identified as super important. It's not going to be the end of the world if I don't do them, but it's going to uplift my business and get me to the next level if I just start doing these tasks. So highly recommend a top 3 every week to focus in on really important business things that are easy to put off, but will give value in the long term.
Love it. Love it. I think that's great.
Work a 12-hour. Yeah, Josh, that's a good work shift too. I know we've got some clients that are firemen, and so they've got a pretty sweet handyman schedule. They make good money, like 3 days or 2 days, 24 hours. They have 5 days off. We do handyman work, so it's nice to have a job that can be conducive with that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
He says, wake up, meditate, exercise, breakfast, coffee with the wife. I love every morning. Me and my wife have coffee together. Well, I don't drink coffee anymore, except on the weekends, but it's a special time to kind of get dialed in, gives you some energy for the day. That's good stuff.
Love it. Love it. Well, I think we can cut it. What do you think?
Yeah, no other questions come in.
All right.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Like I said, we'll send an email with the slides and a replay video. Certainly by early next week. I know we've got to do the technical stuff with the video. Alan, the video master. So yeah, thank you all so much. Alan, anything you'd like to say, man?
Oh man, I appreciate you guys coming here. It's really been fantastic, and I really appreciate you guys just being a part of this handyman journey. Like Jason and I, we've talked a lot about mission and where we're looking to go. And we really want to help this handyman industry become something that it's not, become into a place kind of where the HVAC or plumbing industry is right now. And the potential for that is massive for you guys that are in it right now. And I just feel so blessed by the type of people that we have in the handyman journey, in the handyman journey mastermind group. Fantastic people in there that are just really helpful and loving and hope filled. And I really appreciate it. And I think we're going to do great things. So I'm really excited where we're heading. So just wanted to say thank you to y'all. Thank you so much for Jason. I thank you for all of your marketing expertise that you bring to the handyman journey. And I wouldn't be here if it weren't for you. So I owe a lot to you, and I really appreciate you and everything that you do for the handyman industry. And I think these guys can glean a lot from you. So I appreciate you being on here with me and just spending this hour and a half together. It's been great.
Goes both ways, brother.
Yeah.
Goes
All
both
right.
ways.
Well, thank you all so much, and we will catch you guys on the next webinar. Have a great day, everyone.
See you guys.